First things first, I'm Jenna Wolfe. That's the Hall of Famer Cris Carter. That guy over there, that is Nick Wright.
Fired up this morning, Cece. Let's do this.
Ready
fist
to go.
bumps all around. Hit Jenna one time.
With?
There we go. There we go.
It's a weird thing when the girl fist pumps. I don't feel comfortable with the fist
again,
pump.
bump.
Oh.
Fist bump. Fist pump. Fist bump.
Okay. Well, therein lies my first problem.
Maybe it's not the gender issue. Maybe it's the coolness issue. Exactly
all
right.
We got it.
Good
Anyway,
morning, America.
Houston has a problem, you guys. They've got themselves a little bit of a problem right now, and that was the big news coming out of yesterday. Less than 24 hours after the city of Houston celebrated their first ever World Series title, they were hit with devastating football news. Deshaun Watson, not just Houston's MVP, but quite possibly the league's MVP as well, tore his ACL at practice, and just like that, he is done for the year. Tough news for a team in the playoff hunt. So let's bring it out here, and Cece, I'll ask you, what was your reaction to yet another star going down with a serious injury this season?
I would like to say, I'm more surprised about the totality of everything that's going on. But in covering the league and being in the league, I've seen so many horrific injuries, but I've never seen so many star players hurt. Yeah, we have ACLs blown out every year. We have guys tear the triceps every year.
Every year.
But these are things that we have. But we haven't had the quantity, especially with the knee injuries and season-ending injuries that we've seen this year. And I think this is the hardest part for the fans. That they don't really understand. They don't really understand even how NFL practice, this is not the NBA. This is not a walkthrough. Like, you can get seriously hurt. Teddy Bridgewater totally dislocated his knee on a drop back. Non-contact.
This was a non-contact injury also, we should mention.
Yeah, so this, I mean, for guys who do it and have done it for a long, long time and are able to avoid injuries, people like Tom Brady, it just puts so much more respect on what they've been able to accomplish, because it's a dangerous, dangerous game. And it's awful news for Houston. He will recover. He blew out his left knee. He blew out his right knee in college. So now he's going to be a quarterback that's blown out both of his knees. But the rehab part, he has done it before, so he'll have even more success with the second time, because the second time is a lot easier than the first time.
10 teams, Cece, have now lost either their best player or their most important player. That's 1/3 of the league. The Browns, the Cardinals, the Chiefs, the Dolphins, the Eagles, the Giants, the Packers, the Ravens, the Texans, the Vikings. And with the Texans, you got to pick which guy. Is it, you talking about J.J. Watt, or you talking about Deshaun Watson? That's also not even including Andrew Luck, who still hasn't recovered from his injury he suffered a couple of years ago. I've never seen anything like this.
No.
And maybe it is simply because it is stars. Like, I have no reason to believe the actual raw numbers of players being hurt this year. But I do wonder if there is, and you and I talked about this after yesterday once the news came down. Jenna, you and I talked about it a bit this morning. I wonder if this is bad luck, or if we are reaching a critical mass almost of the combination of guys training so well that it hurts them in both ways. That the guys training, getting their muscles so strong and their bodies so fit that they are not as pliable as Brady would talk about in his book and his method. And the flip side is defensive players getting so big and so fast that, because some of these are non-contact injuries, but some of these are guys landing on you. Right? That's what happened to Aaron Rodgers. That's what was someone hitting you. That's what happened to Carson Palmer. Or maybe it's just coincidence. But it's just that as the guys continue to get bigger, stronger, faster, I feel like maybe we're going to see more and more of this.
Two things. One, are we having all these injuries every year, but this year, because these are all marquee players, big-name guys, that we're really, really focused on it and talking about it? And number two, is there something to be said for Tom Brady's not a big, beefy, I can squat 350, I can bench press this. He's not that guy. He has taken the other side of it.
Neither is Deshaun Watson.
Neither is Deshaun Watson, but he has decided that he's gonna train himself just for his position. Like, he's training himself to be a quarterback, which is like, he talks about pliability, he talks about mobility, he talks about being able to taking hits and how your muscles react to that. Whereas there's a different thought process with these other guys that we see in the weight room, just trying to compete with everyone else for how much weight they can put up, how big they can get, what they look like, and maybe they're not training themselves for their position.
It's good in theory, Jenna. It's good if you have a company that's trying to sell that. But guess who worked out with Tom Brady this offseason?
Julian Edelman.
Edelman worked out with him. Gronk worked out. Oh, and who else? Dante Hightower.
Yeah.
Oh, so there goes that theory. Get that one out of here. What I think it is a combination of there's not enough functional training with the athletes.
What does that mean?
Functional training means there's less practice time. So will your trainer not only train you on a treadmill or running sprints, but will he put you in functional exercises that you actually exercise the muscles that you are participating in the sport?
I think that's what I was just saying. Jenna was asking.
Why aren't we training the players
in that way?
Most players are training that way, but it's not a Tom Brady thing.
No.
It's not as if the guys have stretch coaches. They have everything from an eating standpoint. They have everything, but football is a contact sport. How do you condition the body for more contact when we've taken the contact out of the sport? For me, the training camp, the short period of training camp has hurt the players. The offseason, not having as many reps, it's hurt the players. And now, yeah, the guys are bigger, stronger, faster, but we're getting non-contact injuries.
Well, and
so which don't have anything to do with the speed, the power, or the size. Now, the human beings are bigger. But let me tell you what God is not making bigger. He don't make ligaments around your knee bigger. So even if you get the muscle mass that you want to, your ligaments and everything in your body, they're exactly the same. So there has to be some type of give. The surfaces that they play on, they're better than ever. So it's not them. It's not the equipment. To me, I think it's the overall training or lack of physical contact that you have in practices, which cause more injuries.
And I think that's what you were alluding to.
That's what I'm saying. I just wish players would train for their position.
They are doing that.
Hold on. So let me, because if you guys are confused with each other.
I mean, I used to own an exercise company.
Hold on.
No. Wait a second. I used to own my own facility. All right? We've trained thousands upon thousands of athletes. 3 of my top trainers that ran my business, they run 3 of the top facilities around the country. So I'm in contact with them all the time. We see what's going on. They're up on the exercise science. But the NFL, the collective bargaining agreement, let's get back to that.
Right. So that's the point that I was trying to make. Jenna, what Cris is saying is that doesn't matter what you're doing in your own time if you can't actually practice contact football as much as you used to be able to ready you for the contact that happens in games. Now, obviously, for Deshaun Watson, this really doesn't apply. He's just the latest in this long list of a third of the league who's without their best or their most important player. And the thing that now jumps out to me is, like, everyone's alive as far as the playoffs go. Like, the more teams that lose great players, the more mediocre teams all of a sudden have life. Like, I know we're going to talk about the Thursday Night Football game later. The Bills lose, the Jets win. All right, so the Bills are no longer in a driver's seat. The Jets are no longer dead.
You can't pick 6 AFC playoff teams right now. Sitting here, it would be impossible to pick 6.
And you can, to me, more shockingly, in the AFC, if we want to stay there, you can only confidently say there's one team that's totally done. Cleveland. Like, I know people are like, oh, what about Indy? Well, Indy now all of a sudden is going...
Cleveland's working on the trade, though. They're doing the paperwork.
But wait, that's a good... Don't you think that's a good thing? I know you're not loving parity, and I know you love super teams for the most part, but there's something, or dynasties, whatever you want to call it, but there's something good about the fact that we are week 9.
This is our model, Jenna. This is the model for the NFL. It's not set up for teams to be able to dominate for a long time. That's the reason why the Patriots, what they've done is so special.
So remarkable, yeah.
And it's also great for our fan bases because, there's about 6 to 8 fan bases in the last 5 years hadn't talked about Super Bowl. But you know something? In this odd year, they can win a Super Bowl.
Listen.
And no one's gonna say, you know something? You remember the strike in 1987? You know who won the Super Bowl? They don't even care about the strike. Right? They just care about the team who won.
Oh, okay. You mean as far as if it's a good team or a bad team.
Right.
So I guess me as a football fan, sometimes parity is a code word for mediocrity. And that's what I feel. I understand that it is cool that 28 of the league's 32 fan bases wake up the Friday going into week 9 and say, we're still alive. Like, we can still make the playoffs. Unless you're a Browns, Giants, Bucks, or Niners fan, you wake up this morning like, we still have a shot. But as far as the quality of football, I don't know if it's good for that. Because you have, I don't need super teams in the NFL the way you can have in the NBA. I get that. But having this many star players hurt, just like Deshaun Watson was a fun thing to look forward to every Sunday. Whether the Texans were going to be good, bad, or mediocre, that was going to be a better, visceral, visual experience than Tom Savage. And not just a great story, just fun football. What was the game of the year this year? Seahawks, Texans.
Seattle,
That doesn't happen if Tom Savage is out there, CC.
No, but it's an accepted part of playing in this brutal business. And if we're going to keep covering it, guys are going to get hurt.
Right, but
star players are going to get hurt. Now, the unusual numbers, that's the only thing. But we're still going to crown a champion. We still have to play the playoffs. There's someone else is going to be able to take that limelight that we had put on Deshaun. Someone else is going to be shined on them.
Earlier this week, the 7-1 Eagles added Jay Ajayi to their backfield. They'll test their 4th-ranked offense against Denver's league-leading defense. That's how you set up a story. Carson Wentz says he's looking forward to the matchup.
This is a great defense. You know, they do fly around, they make plays. It's one of the better defenses we'll face all year. They're talented. They're talented, obviously, with Von Miller over there. You got to always know where he's at. You know, there's a reason he's always talked about as one of the best players in the league, and it shows up on tape.
You know, he's out there trying to play football. He's not even playing quarterback. He's out there playing football. And, you know, it's similar to, you know, Ben Roethlisberger and Andrew Luck. But like I said, I'm not making, you know, any comparisons. He's totally different, faster than those guys, quicker than those guys. You know, it's going to be a tough challenge.
All right, CC, let's break this down. How do the Eagles match up against this Denver defense?
All right, here we go, Jenna.
Let me see.
You know, I'm not one to operate from a lot of notes.
We know that.
But Jenna, let me just tell you the truth, because I know you appreciate some Philadelphia information.
So much.
These are two teams headed in two different directions. The Eagles are only team that rank in the top 5 in rushing the football and also in rush defense. The Broncos, Jenna, they haven't scored more than 20 points in 5 straight games. You know who else who they have the longest streak in football with?
Got to be Cleveland.
The Cleveland Browns, Jenna. So also your Eagles, Jenna, they've scored more than 12 straight games. It's the longest streak in pro football. So Jenna, just in case you see your co-host over there on the corner of the street throwing out newspapers, which no one's buying newspapers anymore, let him know. I'm on his corner and I'm selling them. All right, I'm in his lane.
Okay. All right. So
you got all that, Nick?
I think so.
Did you hear
your point was you think the Eagles will fare well against Denver.
Thanks.
With all those stats, information, numbers. Got it. Okay. Here's why earlier in the show when we did Nick's picks, I picked the Broncos as the upset of the week, a team that I think can not only cover the 7.5, but can win this game outright. I think there's some times, and we saw it early in the year on Sunday Night Football, when we saw Ziggy Ansah just ruin Eric Flowers. Right? We saw that with the New York Giants early, back when the Giants were a relevant football team. I think it was week 2, just couldn't block him.
Giants haven't been relevant since the preseason, but go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. I am very curious to see what the new left tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles, Vaitai, the Eagles call him Big V, so I'm going to call him Big V because that is a mouthful of a first name, how he is going to deal with not just Von Miller, but friend of the show, Adam Gotsis, the friend of Jenna Wolfe, Derek Wolfe, the entire Denver front 7. Because the reality is this, Philly has gotten by this year on dominating on third downs. The best third down passing team in football by a wide margin. Guess what's going to be happening on third down, CC?
They're going to blitz him?
They're going to come after him.
Oh, okay.
And they're going to leave Aqib Talib and Chris Harris out there on those good but not great wide receivers. Unless Zach Ertz has a monster game. Now, he's been very good this year. Fantasy players know he's been the most consistent fantasy skill position player there has been. He's been good every single week. He's going to have to have a monster game. If he does, the Eagles win. If he doesn't, Denver pulls the upset.
Okay, so just for clarification, Denver's going to put a lot of pressure. They're going to blitz Wentz, right? They're going to put a lot of pressure. Jenna, would you happen to let Nick know, how does Carson Wentz do against the blitz?
106 times he was blitzed.
Is that the most in the NFL?
Times, yes.
Well, what's his passing rating? All right, what's his success rate, Jenna?
You tell.
blitzed 106 times, most in the NFL, while throwing 7 touchdowns when blitzed, the most with 0 interceptions.
I get it.
So they're inviting the blitz. Now, don't throw the ball outside to those corners. Throw the ball in the middle.
Well, okay, thank
Zach
you.
Ertz.
There you go.
Ertz is going to have a big game.
Okay,
Jenna.
all right. I appreciate that the little hedge there at the end, because most teams, when they blitz you and they're in man-to-man on the edges, they're in trouble. Not when you have Aqib Talib and Chris Harris, the best pair of corners in football.
Yes.
That is why Zach Ertz is so important in this game. Now, we haven't looked at it on the other side, and I bet there are people in Philly screaming at their televisions, but yeah, how's Denver going to score?
Yes.
How is Brock Osweiler, after being so bad, the Texans traded him away and included a second-round pick with him just to get Cleveland take him. Then Cleveland, with their quarterback situation, they cut him. Denver, he was standing behind Paxton Lynch. How are they going to score on the Philadelphia defense? And that right there is a question that I don't know. I'm just going to be totally honest.
Right.
How Denver is going to fare on the Philadelphia defense, you would need Osweiler last year. About 1 in every 4 games was good. He's going to need to have one of those 4 games. But I don't think the opposite of the Chiefs-Cowboys, CC. I think Chiefs-Cowboys is going to be a game 1st to 30 wins.
Right.
This game might be 1st to 17 wins.
If Denver wants to get the most out of Osweiler, what they have to do is act like they're one-dimensional. Act like they're trying to get him not to lose the game. Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. What does he do well? Let's add a little play-action pass and have some deep shots down the field. When you throw deep shots down the field, 66% of the things that happen are good. Pass interference or a completion. So that would be my game plan. You only need 21 points, 24 points, right, based on that defense.
Yeah.
So that's what I would try to do, and you can't turn the ball over on the road.
In a season full of injuries, we almost should have seen this one coming. We found out last night Andrew Luck is now officially shut down for the year due to complications after surgery on his throwing shoulder. So, CC, where do you place this? Did the Colts waste Luck's prime here?
The Colts have mismanaged Andrew Luck, but it all started from the beginning because they were in a perfect spot because Peyton Manning's injury. They had the top pick, and they're getting – they got to go to Mel Kiper. Mel Kiper said he's the best prospect that we've seen in 30 years coming to the NFL. But the Colts front office didn't get the memo that if you're going to have a quarterback like this, you have to gear an offense playing inside in Indianapolis that is geared towards a quarterback. All right? They brought a bunch of offensive linemen that are prodders and try to maul people, big guys, fat guys, and they're better for run blocking. Andrew Luck needs an offensive line a lot like they have in New England. And New England's had there with Tom Brady. They're not trying to power run the football. They typically have 3 tackles. All right, what does that mean? They get someone to play left tackle, right tackle, but typically they get another guard who played tackle in college, who is a better pass protector. And you'll see this around the National Football League. The teams that have franchise quarterbacks, they have 3 tackles on their lines. One of their starters is a tackle from college. And that's what Indianapolis did not do. On their defensive front, they tried to do the same thing compared to having a fast defensive line like Tony Dungy used to have because they are playing games. They play 10 games a year, all right, with their 8 home games that are in perfect conditions. And you can't have a team that's built like it's supposed to play outside in the elements when it's really playing on a fast and a surface where you need tackles on the offensive line and you need rushers on the defensive line. So his career has been mismanaged by the Indianapolis Colts. If you want to look at some things that Bill Polian has commented on as far as their front office, and it's not Bill Polian trying to hate on the Colts. It's true. When you have a franchise quarterback like Andrew Luck, who plays in a stadium like they do, you have to build the team around that, and that's where they failed him.
And when you have an asset like this and he's injured, you become incredibly cautious instead of wishing that he'd play through it and being the owner and saying the biggest, it's between his ears rather than no. In 2015, this guy hurt his shoulder in the first few weeks of the year. He didn't get it fixed in 2015, didn't get it fixed in 2016, then finally had surgery going into 2017. I want to...
Which, after the surgery, they came out of it, had the normal press release. The surgery
went well.
It was successful.
And he's definitely going to play. I want to say something real quick, because I've been very critical of Andrew Luck. I've said Andrew Luck's had the same career as Ryan Tannehill. Andrew Luck's supposed to be this big, bad, great quarterback, and it's just been the college projection. I want to apologize to Andrew Luck. He's been injured for 3 years. After his third year, his last healthy year, he was extraordinary. That was the one year I'd said, look, he was great one season in 2014, and then where'd it go? Well, where it went was he's had a bad shoulder, worse than any of us could have imagined because he played through it for 2 seasons. And so I feel badly for some of the things I've said about Luck because he's been trying to overcome something he shouldn't have had to overcome because of mismanagement by the Indianapolis Colts. I hope he gets healthy. I'm glad they're finally giving him a full year off. And I hope Andrew Luck makes me look like a fool in the years to come because this wasn't on him. He tried to be tough. He tried to play it out. And that's why his play dipped. So, Andrew, my bad.
All right, moving on to the matchup, though. In the NFC South, Matt Ryan and the Falcons taking on Cam Newton and the Panthers. It is Cam Newton's first game this season without wide receiver Kelvin Benjamin. However, Cam seems focused on the task at hand.
You know, this one counts for 2, divisional opponent. They're going to come in on, expecting big things. We're expecting big things, and, I'm expecting a great game from our team as a whole, offensively included.
All right, Cece, how different will this Panthers team be without Kelvin Benjamin?
I mean, it's going to be different. It's hard to replace 6'5", 245 as a wide receiver. Devin Funchess and him have a very similar skill set, so he'll probably be the dominant, the X-receiver. But they have to get Curtis Samuel involved, the rookie from Ohio State. They spent a high draft pick on him, a second-round pick, right? Yep. And they have to get him involved. And they not in the running game. They got to get him involved in the downfield passing game. And I'm not convinced. First of all, I don't think Curtis Samuel should have left school. He should have stayed in school at Ohio State. He has never played wide receiver like outside the number. He's always been either a running back or a slot receiver, Percy Harvin type. So the difference in playing wide receiver, the ball travels in the air so much further when you're a wide receiver, even if you're running shorter routes compared to a running back. So does that transfer over? That to me is what I'm watching for, how they're going to create big plays. I think they'll try to go sideline to sideline with some of their speed. They have to figure out a way to get McCaffrey matched up on people one-on-one. All right, so these are the things that I'm looking for. You have to create big plays. You don't have Kelvin Benjamin. All right, I believe Funchess can replace that productivity. But where do the big plays come from? And then you said you want more speed into the lineup. I want to see it Sunday.
You mentioned Samuel being a second-round pick. The Panthers did an odd thing in the draft where instead of adding to their offensive line, instead of adding to their very young secondary and maybe adding some talent, they drafted 2 guys with very similar skill sets. 2 guys with similar profiles coming out of college in McCaffrey and Samuel.
I don't think so because Samuel never played tailback. Samuel didn't return punts.
I understand that part of it, but guys, tell me if you agree with this part of it. Guys who, as far as in the receiving game, they did that, I think, to help Cam with McCaffrey and Samuel. Neither one of those guys, like you said, had experience in college, lining up on the outside and running real receiver routes, right?
That part is correct.
That part, and so now with Benjamin gone, I think an adjustment they are going to make, I think they might make McCaffrey a full-time receiver. Or at least try it out. He has been so unproductive.
I think Curtis Samuel is better to be a full-time wide receiver than McCaffrey.
But I think they're both going to be. I think McCaffrey's going to be playing the slot. Samuel's going to be playing on the outside. So you have this. The year the Panthers were awesome. Kelvin Benjamin was injured, by the way. Oh, yeah. And they had Ted Ginn playing on the outside spot. I shouldn't use the word slot. Put Curtis Samuel in that Ted Ginn role. See if McCaffrey can get those matchups as a slot wide receiver.
As a slot receiver, he's going to get more of a safety or a nickel back compared to coming out of the backfield getting linebacker matchups. That's not the matchup that you don't want defensive backs guarding.
What I know you don't want is this: McCaffrey getting 10 carries a game. He has been the least productive, high-usage running back in football. And I also think it has hurt Jonathan Stewart's production. I think the fact that Jonathan Stewart is splitting carries with Christian McCaffrey is one of the reasons Jonathan Stewart is having the least productive year of his career. So I don't think you, on a talent-wise, on paper, get better by trading away Kelvin Benjamin. but this offense has been so stagnant that if you can try to shake something up against a mediocre Falcons defense, where you say, you know what, Jonathan Stewart, we're going to go back to you being the feature back. Christian McCaffrey, we're not going to try to force the ball to you 15 times a game. And Curtis Samuel, second-round pick, who's now played 8 games in the league, we're going to feature you more. I think it at least gives them a chance to, I don't know, shake off get out of the funk they're in on offense, because this defense has been extraordinary this year, Chris.
Yeah, it's hard turning positional players into wide receivers. It's hard enough coming from college and being an elite college player and playing wide receiver, and that's the only position you played. Now, these guys have both played running back. So for me, I think it's the experiment when they drafted them, because there's no way they thought both of them could be slot receivers, because you don't need 2 slot receivers. When they drafted Curtis Samuel, they had to think he was a wide receiver.
Right.
So now we have to see that.
Right, go see if he can do it.
This is just such a head-scratcher all around. You want Cam Newton to be your pocket guy to throw the ball more, then you take away one of his weapons and you say, okay, go do it. So they absolutely have to do something. But I think when we looked at this matchup at the beginning of the season, we thought, 2 powerhouses, 2 teams that are going to probably be at the top of their division, maybe at the top of the conference, like whatever it is. And now you're looking at 2 teams who are fighting to kind of, well, at least with the Falcons, to just keep above the fray and keep their head above the water. And when you look at this Falcons team, you have to wonder whether you expected more out of Julio Jones.
Well, that's to me the other interesting part of this matchup, CC. Last year in one of these games against the Panthers, Julio went for 300, not 200, but 300. The Panthers were starting 2 rookie corners. Didn't matter which rookie corner you put on Julio Jones. Yes. He was toasting them. They really missed Josh Norman that game. No one can question, tell me if I'm right here, CC. No one can question Julio's work ethic. No one can question Julio's ability. No one can question Julio's just physical skills. What do you make of the drop-off in raw number production from last year Julio Jones to this year Julio Jones?
But Julio, first of all, Julio Jones is the best wide receiver in the NFL. If I'm starting a team and you tell me I can pick one wide receiver, that's who I'm picking. Not only because of his size, not only because he's 6'3", 220, not because he runs a 4-3, not because he runs precise routes, not because he can play every wide receiver position, but because he's not a diva wide receiver. He comes from Alabama. He's a regular football player. He loves to practice. He loves the game. So the only way is the sheer numbers. They're not targeting him as much, all right? They don't make him the focal point. So we are a position that is subject to what they call and the productivity of the quarterback in the offensive line. So that combination is the reason why Julio Jones is not having his typical year. But Julio Jones is the best wide receiver in the NFL.
No, I knew you felt that way. That's what I don't understand.
So the transition is from Shanahan, Kyle, going from coordinator to San Francisco, to Steve Sarkisian, is not featuring Julio Jones, is not making him a part of the offense the way he's been before.
But if he's all those things you said, you can't deny the fact that he is all those guys, that he's a big guy, he's a fast guy, he understands separation, he's a talented guy, he's had production, he's had success against this Panthers team. Yeah. Why don't you just feature him more? What am I missing?
I know it seems like a basic question. That's my question as well. Like, if
why would you not take the best guy in the game and feature him?
There's so many complicated things when you take over a team as an offensive coordinator, especially when it's not like the previous offensive coordinator got fired. He got promoted. He did such a good job.
Right.
What is the part of this that I'm not seeing? Where I would think if I were Steve Sarkisian, the one thing I know is, guess what? We're targeting Julio 10 to 15 times a game, every game. When we're in the red zone, we are forcing the ball to him because he can. His one touchdown of the year came on a bad pass and double coverage. But guess what?
He's successful,
Julio went up and got it.
He can do it.
So why was that not the plan?
Hey, I don't have all the answers, Nick.
Okay.
I don't know the reason why.
Doesn't make sense.
In Atlanta, everything starts and ends with Julio Jones. He's the best wide receiver. Now, he's been Jenna.
He's definitely the best.
Jenna. He's the best.
No, that's my point, is that we're not seeing that in the games because on paper he is.
It's human. He's the best wide receiver. The offense is not playing well. So Freeman, Devontae Freeman, his productivity's down. Matty Ryan's productivity is down. Julio Jones. It's not like people in Atlanta are having a great season and Julio's not. All right, we are subject to what else is going on around us, and they are not running the same system.
Panthers' woes continue as they lose Tristan Thompson for about a month with a calf injury. Turns out the Kardashian curse is real. And for some explanation for my parents watching, see, he's dating Khloe Kardashian. I think she's the oldest. Is the middle sister? The youngest. She's the
Hell of
youngest.
an explanation.
Anyway, I thought you were cut off until Nick righted my ship. Nick, now are you worried all about the Cavs?
No, but this is I'm not worried about the Cavs for the long term. But right now, the worst defensive team in basketball just got worse defensively, right? Because now at center, they are either going to have to play Kevin Love, Channing Frye, or LeBron. In LeBron's first game this year when he started as a point guard, which was against Brooklyn, he started the first quarter at point guard and the second quarter at center. So, like, maybe he will play some minutes at center with Tristan out. But LeBron, as great as he is, he's not a great defensive center. Like, that's not what he's there for. So, yeah, the Cavs... Here's the thing. If the Cavs are going to continue playing this level of defense, which without Tristan Thompson, I would imagine they will, they've got to have better shooting. Like, they are right now the worst. They are the worst type of team where they don't play good defense and they don't hit threes. So, of course, they're getting blown out in games. The Tristan Thompson injury, it was interesting if you were watching the game. Someone was mic'd up or there was a hot mic, whatever it was. LeBron went over to him right when he grabbed it, and he said, "Have you hurt that calf before?" And Tristan said, "No, I don't know much about calf injuries. I know you have more expertise on this than I do." It seems like LeBron was worried, is this a recurring injury or a new injury as far as recovery time for Tristan Thompson moving forward?
Yeah, LeBron's just over there trying to run the team. Okay, next thing you guys are going to be telling me LeBron has some type of workout regimen, sleeping in some type of pajamas and everything.
Like your guy Brady, your jersey.
Yeah, the Cavs this is not a good situation for them. And it's not as if they have the flexibility to make a bunch of moves. I mean, as far as their roster. They still have that asset as far as the pick from Brooklyn that potentially they could trade it for someone. But this is a bad story that continues to get worse. Not a good defensive basketball team, and they're losing their best defender, and they don't have any perimeter scoring. They don't really have a legitimate scoring threat besides LeBron every night.
It feels like the basketball gods are out to get Nick. We're going to make them lose every game. No, they're still going to be great. We're going to have them lose players. They're still going to be great. We're going to shift all their positions around. No, they're still going to win. I promise you, they're still going to win.
Listen.
At some point, you're going to have to say.
And at some point will be, they traded Isaiah. Right now, the Cavs' big offseason trade was Kyrie Irving for Jay Crowder. Shockingly, that hasn't worked out. Luckily, around January,
they're going to have to win a couple games before they get Isaiah Thomas back.
Okay, Jenna, and I promise you, they will win a couple games before they get Isaiah Thomas back.
What do I always say?
You ask me every day, am I worried?
Yeah.
If the Cavs if they win less than a couple games before Isaiah comes back, I'll be worried. I promise.
Thank you for listening to the First Things First podcast. Remember, leave us a review and tell us what you think. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and catch us on FS1 Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. Eastern. For Cris Carter and Nick Wright, I'm Jenna Wolfe. So long, everybody.